Good day, Canadians. My name's Leslie Bory. I'm an independent candidate in this federal election in the riding of Brantford-Brant. All right, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about home ownership on minimum wage. In our Western culture, we believe that we should have a Western standard of living. That means that if you work 40 hours a week or have steady employment, you should be able to afford a home at the very least. It's a minimum requirement in our Western standard to be able to own a house if you're a hardworking individual. Now, presently, the economic conditions don't allow for home ownership by anyone except for the richest people in our nation. And a lot of the times, these people are now foreigners, and they come to Canada not to buy a home, but to speculate on prices. And they drive the prices of houses up. All right, so we shouldn't allow any more foreign ownership of property in Canada, number one. Number two, if you want to own a home, you're going to have to be employed. And if we have free trade agreements in place that send our manufacturing overseas so that others can get wealthy and come to Canada with the money that we should have earned here and buy up all our housing, well, these things are wrong. We should change these things legislatively and get out of free trade agreements. Another matter is immigration. All these people can do that favor the immigration is call you a racist when you point out to them that we have homeless in Canada now. We have refugees on our soil presently. Some were older immigrants, some were born here, these people. All right, so we should take care of those people first and put them into houses before we bring more immigrants into Canada. That's just a simple thing. All right? And these hateful people sometimes they're from privileged minority groups, will call people like me a racist just because of the color of my skin and because I suggest to people that we take care of our own first. All right, I don't mention any colors or races when I do this either. All right, a Canadian's a Canadian. The most important thing about a Canadian is what's in their heart. There's some people that were born here that really shouldn't be Canadian. They shouldn't even be here, all right? So the same thing goes with immigrants. Some people shouldn't be here, and some people make excellent, like-minded Canadians. All right? So one way that Canadians should be like-minded is that we should agree that if banks are going to print money, which they always do and always will, that these banks should be run by the public if they're going to print Canadian dollars and not by some private group or by some religion, okay? So these banks should also not charge interest on money that they create out of thin air. If I were to hold up a $20 bill right now and ask you to buy it off of me for $21, you look at me like I'm stupid, all right? Yet people like Pierre Poilievre are trying to say that we get our money cheaply, all right? When in fact banks print $20 and they want $21 back. And if that's the way that all money is coming into existence, that means that the debt can never be paid by the principal that's in existence in the real world. Okay, that means there's always more debt than money. So if there's always more debt than money, then how on earth can we print too much money if we never have enough to pay off the debt? It's impossible. Okay? That's another matter. And I suggest to you that you elect someone like me, not so I can bring you instant change, which I can't do because I'm an independent candidate. But even the party people won't push for things to take us in the right direction, which I will. And one of these things is not to go on a gold standard or to print money which is backed by nothing. All right, we should back our currency with labor. There was a country in the 30s that they came out of a hyperinflation by printing interest-free money, and they backed it with labor. And that's how they got rid of the hyperinflation. And 3 years after a famous but lied about hero to these people got into power, an economic hero, because later things went bad. All right, this person brought this nation's economy from being worse than it was in North America, where people were starving during the Depression. You don't hear about that much, right? So he took this European economy that was worse than that, and they had hyperinflation. They backed their currency with labor. In 3 years, they employed everybody. They hosted an Olympics with no debt, and they did all of this with by backing their currency with labor. What's more valuable, your labor or gold? How did gold get here? Labor. There you go, folks. Checkmate. And not to mention the gold standard, it changes value. So globalists can manipulate the value of the gold to manipulate your currency in your nation. All right? So that means that they control the price of the goods in your country. So if they want to predate on your nation, they can lower prices and walk in with a small amount of foreign currency and buy up a lot of goods here, which is what's been going on. All right? So, to fix the housing crisis, we have to control our own banks, print money with no interest, back our printed currency with labor, lend money to people for homes at no interest. So we print the money the way they do now, but we lend it to people with no interest, and that way there's always enough money in the system to pay all the debts. And your savings does not devalue in the bank because of the printing of interest. If I get a bank loan, say $100 from the bank, and I walk out of the bank, just because the passing of time, it's devalued. I wait 10 seconds, I walk in the bank, I can't pay this loan with its own face value. The $100 will not pay for itself. They're going to want 101. You see how that devalues currency? You throw that into the mix, and all currency devalues. You can't devalue $100 bill without devaluing all currency in Canada that way. All right, and that's inflation. Today, what they're saying is that the printing of money to get us through this scamdemic is devaluing the currency more, like at an increased rate. Well, to be entirely accurate, you only decrease currency's value regarding what relating to what the interest rate is. So the lower the interest rate, the slower your currency devalues. All right. So what they're doing is they're excusing price gouging, and they're calling it inflation because of the printing of currency. Okay, folks? So now let's get into how we could buy a home on minimum wage, $15 an hour in Canada, all right? Well, when you print your currency and you back it with labor, that means that every dollar the civil service gets paid has been a dollar that's been earned into existence.